came forward and revealed what you didn't hide, your double life. The life you live is based plan. You've been keeping your BDSM, cross-dressing, having sex with other men, alternative lifestyle secret. And in the shadows. And now it comes into the light. When Ashley finally said she had enough, and you made sure she wouldn't say another word to another soul.
Jordan Henning's double life is exposed. Ashley Henning's cousin speaking out during his sentencing. And this morning, he is joining us live. And could the crime scene clues convict Karen Reed? Our forensic criminologist weighs in on the key evidence in the retrial. Plus, jury selection continues this morning in Diddy's sex trafficking trial. The celebrity names being brought up in court may surprise you. And counselor cult mom wants another shot. Lori Daybell seeking a brand new trial in her conspiracy murder case, claiming there was juror misconduct. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. This is the show where we get you all primed and ready to go for the big court day ahead, and it is a big day and we've got a big show too. So grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Great minds have purpose. Others have wishes, said author Washington Irving. Cult mom has wishes. The now four-time convicted killer is wishing for a new trial in her most recent case. You know, the one where she conspired with her now deceased brother to murder her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. She's citing numerous reasons why she thinks she deserves a new trial. So many, my friends, that we don't have enough time in this show to go through them all. But I promise you, we're going to tackle the biggest one a little later in the program. But for now, what I want to say is this. I think she wants a new trial so that she can get back in front of the cameras and have another little vacation from prison. That's my theory. I think in a sick, demented way, this woman loves being on trial for murder. I predict she won't get a new trial, at least not for Charles Vallow's murder. But I'll never say never when it comes to her potentially being charged in another case. I mean, who knows? I've often wondered, my friends, if we'll ever see Alex Cox's death re-examined. I mean, given everything that's happened, maybe, just maybe, a second look would be a good idea. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. And again, more Cult Mom coming up later in our show. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the verdict?
In 1 FFC 19-759, State of Hawaii versus Dixie Denise Villa. As to the charge of manslaughter, we, the jury, in this case, find the defendant, Dixie Denise Villa, guilty as charged of the offense of manslaughter.
In Hawaii, we've got Dixie Villa's sentencing scheduled for today. You might remember her from the baby medicine manslaughter trial. She was convicted in the death of Abigail Lobish, a 7-month-old little girl that she was babysitting. Sentencing for her is going to start up at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. In Tennessee, we're in a verdict watch in the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols' trial. This one is going to resume at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll keep you posted on those jury deliberations. And in Florida, we've got jury deliberations just beginning in the Xbox murders resentencing case, right? A resentencing for Troy Victorino and Jerome Hunter. That's going to get underway at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Now, we turn to your top story. Defendant Karen Reed's retrial and more crucial crime scene evidence being revealed for the jury, providing more insight into what happened the night that her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe, was found dead in the snow. Now, for the first time in this retrial, the jury was able to see the recovered cocktail glass that John had from the bar found at the scene.
Did the leaf blower work as you had hoped?
It was great.
Did you discover something in that area?
We did.
What did you discover?
It's a cocktail glass.
Was it, did it have any damage to it?
It did.
Describe that for us.
It was broken on the top.
Did you or any officer at your direction obtain and preserve that broken cocktail glass?
Yes.
Now, another key piece of evidence presented was John O'Keefe's cell phone movements. Cellbrite brought in the Commonwealth brought in one of Cellbrite's experts, somebody who works for the company whose software was used, to testify to the new data that we didn't hear in the first trial. You know, it existed, but the prosecution just didn't pull it and use it. And that's the battery temperature from John O'Keefe's phone. It plummeted the night that he was killed, and it puts into question Karen Reed's defense team's theory that he went into the home. Now, let's talk about this. I'm going to bring in forensic criminology expert Dr. Laura Petler. She's been researching this case and applying the methodology that she uses when she processes crime scenes. Dr. Laura, welcome back. We've missed you. And thank you for coming on this morning. Of course. So I know I could talk to you for hours. We all could, but obviously we have limited time. So kind of succinctly tell us how you have gone through your methodology and applied it to this case and what conclusions you have come to about what the forensics show us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I missed you guys too. The murder room method is a 6-stage method, and it is a scientific, decedent-centered method that gives us a bit of flexibility where we need it, but also remains static where we definitely have to have it in order to put all the evidence through each of one of the 6 stages to be able to render an opinion at stage 6. So no opinion can be rendered until stage 6. So because we're in day 11 now of this trial, we're currently in stage 4, which means that we're in the analysis stage. And analysis doesn't mean thinking hard. Analysis means to take each piece of evidence and first decide if it's critical evidence or if it's white noise. If it's white noise, it needs to be sequestered somewhere outside the case. And then if it's critical evidence, we analyze it, we assign it like if it's green, we can prove it. If it's yellow, we can sort of prove it. And if it's red, we can't prove it yet. And so what we're seeing in this trial is a lot of critical evidence that has been presented by the Commonwealth that we are assigning a green color to, meaning that it is being able to be proven in trial. So you know me, Julie, I am not a person that is going to render an opinion too early. So I can't tell you where this is going to go. All I can tell you that is, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. So your eyes have to be wide, but your mind has to be wider. So it's important to keep our minds open, but at the same time, look at what this evidence is showing, both the physical and the digital evidence, and explaining it in very logical, objective terms.
I love how meticulous you are, Dr. Laura. I want to ask you about a couple particular things while we can here. Sure. Massachusetts State Police, a lieutenant on the stand you saw testifying about them finding Officer John O'Keefe's sneaker and broken pieces of Karen Reed's taillight at the crime scene. Let's take a listen to some of that.
We found the sneaker, yes, sir.
A sneaker?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe where the sneaker was found?
Sneaker was flush up against the curb, and it was inverted upside down.
Was there anything in the sneaker?
There was snow on and inside the sneaker.
That night, do you recall if there was any other pieces of taillight recovered?
I believe in total we located maybe 6 or 7 pieces of taillight.
Dr. Laura, do these pieces of evidence seem consistent to you with the theory the Commonwealth is posturing that this was a homicide by vehicle?
Yes, I mean, all of these pieces of evidence, you have to learn how to think, not just what to think. And so it's very, very important when you're dealing with homicide cases, and specifically cases that appear to be related to a domestic violence incident that we have thousands of every single day in this country, unfortunately, to assess the validity and reliability of that particular piece of evidence. And when you have supporting witnesses whose testimonies say, this is how we recovered it, and of course the circumstances out there were so bad because of the blizzard, and it complicated everything for them, you have to weigh the validity and reliability of each piece of evidence and ask yourself how to think. How do you think of this? Is it valid? Is it reliable? And if it's not, you know, you got to put it in red for the time being. So for us, the pieces in the garage, in the front yard are green for us at this point. Could they change, Julie? Of course they could. But at this point right now, the validity and the reliability is high. And on the staging taxonomy, on Pettler's staging taxonomy, we have elements of where I would say she's ticking. There's nothing confirmative, but in the linguistic area, a cluster of behaviors, and in the gestural cluster of behaviors, we have 0 ticking going on in our visual cluster of behaviors, which is in any type of tampering or manipulation of the scene itself by a defendant, so to speak. So it's way too early to render any opinion in this case, and it's very important to learn how to actually think and the difference between the different definitions of thinking and analysis. Thinking is to conceptualize a thought or idea, but to analyze means to break down something, individual aspects, like all of the cogs of a wheel and a machine, and actually analyze each piece and then reassemble them into a newly understood whole, and then apply that to the overall totality of evidence to render a direction, a trajectory in the case for how all those parts are interrelated, how all of those pieces are interrelated into the case.
Yes, preach, my friend. I love it. You know, going through everything methodically, carefully assessing it. Like you said, right, look at the evidence. It's one thing to hear a story, but it's another thing to see evidence that supports a story.
So I believe in the story. I'm sorry.
No,
I believe in the story. I believe in the story, Julie. As you know, many times when you're dealing with a case like this that's centered on domestic violence and power and control, if we do not tell a jury and put it in context why the victim is dead and how the offender or defendant benefits from the death of that victim, we've seen it in Matthew Moore. We've seen it in other cases. The jury will acquit or the jury will hang. And in this case, the retrial, we're seeing a lot more context for the domestic violence. And it's very, very important to bring that forward so that all the voicemails and the calls and all of this behavior is consistent with a pattern of domestic violence.
Yes, and thank you for that, Dr. Lori. You know, and you are the second expert. You have expertise in the area of DV, you know, as well as forensics, and you've done a lot of cases. And you and I have talked before on the show. It's something we're both very passionate about, advocating for victims of domestic violence. And you are the second expert I've had on the show to say that you see signs of DV in this case. I know I've seen it from jump. We had Claudia King, you know, on the case saying it, and there's a couple ways of looking at it. You know, one could look at it and you could say, okay, so this is just a standard homicide by vehicle while DUI, or as you noted, you look at the context, what was happening in those last moments. And then we also, of course, have to consider the defense theory that I don't know how many people were involved in an attack that there wasn't a motive for, and there was a dog involved, and I'm not even quite sure to this day what they're saying happened, but whatever's gonna make the most sense, I'm sure you're gonna identify it with your methodology. We're out of time for now. Dr. Laura Pettler, please come back. You said we're in stage 4, 6 stages, so come back at 5 and 6, please, when you have time. Thank you so much. Dr. Laura Pettler, follow her on social media, and we'll have her back here soon, I promise. Still ahead here on Opening Statements.
You've been keeping your BDSM, cross-dressing, having sex with other men, alternative lifestyle secret, and in the shadows. And now it comes into the light.
Jordan Henning's alleged BDSM lifestyle is exposed in the courtroom. Ashley Henning's cousin is speaking out about Jordan Henning's FetLife account. He told the court about it. Did you see it, the sentencing yesterday? Well, Ashley's cousin is live with us on the program this morning. Plus, the surprising celebrity names that are being brought up in court in Diddy's sex trafficking trial.
Karen Reed a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was free!
Karen Reed is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend.
And it's stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him.
She may end up taking the stand.
Her first trial ended with a hung jury.
They haven't proven anything.
Will a jury finally agree on a verdict? We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways.
How are you all feeling right now? Anything you want to say?
As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers.
He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight anymore.
Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial is what's trending in true crime. Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. We've got the jury selection expected to finish up today, but some familiar celebrity names are what has everybody talking as they're coming up through the voir dire process. That's just a fancy word for the questioning of the jurors. So we've got what's called the pool of prospective jurors right now, big pool of people that are being asked questions as a group. They're being asked to review a list of people that may be referenced in the case, just referenced. Some of those names include actor Michael B. Jordan, rapper Kid Cudi, and comedian Mike Myers. Now, this is just to name a few. Kanye West and Diddy's former partner, Cassie Ventura, are also among the list of celebrities whose names were mentioned in court on day number 1 of the jury selection process. Now, Michael B. Jordan and Kid Cudi are not considered to be witnesses to any criminal acts, but they were named in Cassie Ventura's lawsuit that was filed against Combs back in November of 2023. So we're asking, what celebrity names came as a surprise to you? Let's bring in our power panel. With me, attorneys Cassia Early and Franz Borghardt, and the former co-host of the Hot 97 Morning Show, Lisa G. Good morning to you all. Lisa, would you start us off, please? What names might have surprised you in this process?
Well, Julie, I think all of them did. I was thinking, like, wow, why isn't Usher or Mary J. Blige or artists that he's worked with in the past? So I think it's going to be a journey to find out why these names were mentioned. I mean, he came across just about every celebrity in Hollywood with his parties, with his business, with his alcohol line. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg and what we're going to see and what we're going to hear. I think there'll be plenty of more celebrity names mentioned.
Right, I'm with you, and I love that, Lisa. And you're right, it kind of makes you think of which ones didn't come up that maybe we thought might. Justin Bieber's name, there's been a lot of speculation about him. We know he worked closely with Diddy, as you noted. Usher, of course, Diddy's protege. You know, yeah, so TBD. We'll see, you know, if more names come up today. Casey, based on the ones we've heard so far, did anything jump out at you?
Well, Michael B. Jordan, because, you know, he has this clean image. There's no salacious headlines attached to him, only his dating history. So that was quite surprising. But as you already mentioned, there's no criminal implications that he was involved. It's just that connection. But there may be another reason why they were mentioning these names, just to kind of gauge the truth of the jury. Because at the end of the day, the voir dire process is to engage the jury into speaking the truth. So if someone said that they didn't know a host of celebrities, but they have access to cable, internet, social media, then maybe that could be a reason to disqualify them if they're not being honest, true, and upfront. So, like you said, to be determined if other names will come up.
Right. Yeah, Casey, thank you for that. And appreciate you clarifying. You know, of course, we want to be very clear in our reporting. We're just mentioning the names and the context we have so far, and doesn't mean anybody did anything bad. We know his parties were popular. Let's be honest. I mean, Franz, I think at one point in time, it's like it was a thing. If you get invited to a Diddy party, that was a big deal. It means you kind of made it. So do you think maybe we'll even see some more names coming up today?
So I think the fact that we heard these names is significant, especially in a federal court where jury selection's very limited. I suspect that these individuals are witnesses or at least there's something more than, say, a Justin Bieber that wasn't named. I think you will hear more names, and the fact that certain witnesses are not mentioned during voir dire doesn't mean that they won't necessarily be witnesses. But I mean, Mike Myers, like where is that coming? Like Shrek, Austin Powers. So and it's difficult to discern, Julie. Are these just people that were there having a drink and like, oh my gosh, is this going on in the other room, or were they participating? We don't know yet. So it's crazy. This is just crazy.
No, it really is. Yeah, we're witnessing history. I mean, I know everyone on this amazing power panel knows that. This is a historic trial. This is going to be one we're all going to look back on years from now, whichever way this goes. It's going to be huge. So let's talk about another aspect of it if we can, the optics, right? So high-profile case, we know, one of the biggest celebrities of all time, of our lifetimes, that's for sure. There was a little bit of a pause in the jury selection process the other day, and Sean Diddy Combs told the court that he was a little nervous. He said he needed to take a break from the proceedings. Can you blame him, right? The 55-year-old is looking at a possible life sentence if he's convicted of what he's being accused of. So the stakes are as high as they can get. This is his liberty. Cameras not permitted in federal courtrooms. How we at Court TV wish that would change, and the law can be changed on that. But for now, these sketches are going to serve as our view into the courtroom. So we've been grabbing them here at Court TV for you. And take a look at Sean Diddy Combs. So this was from yesterday. We can see his hair just about fully gray, no access to hair dye apparently while in custody. He wore a sweater the other day, a dark sweater, to the courtroom for jury selection. And we wonder, based on the sketches, it's hard to tell, but how is he holding up? Somebody who's got access to the best of the best for self-care. Sure, this is not easy. Lisa G., let me go back to you. Your thoughts on his appearance, the optics, and maybe what he's trying to accomplish with what we see him wearing at trial.
Well, you know what, Julie, it can't be easy for him. I've known him for, 30 years now. And when he would come up to the radio station, he was the king of the hill. He was the king of hip hop. He had all the money. He had all the jewels. He had everything at the tip of his fingers. And so to see him in a courtroom like this, going gray, gaining some weight, having to raise his hand for a bathroom break, it's almost shocking to me that sometimes I think like, wow, am I in a dream? When I think of the way I used to know him and what's going on now in the courtroom, he could be sent away for life. This could be one of the biggest stories of our decade, especially in the world of music.
Lisa G., you are spot on. Absolutely. I want to show you something that the court ruled. So he is permitted, of course, to wear non-prison clothing during the course of this trial. There it is from the judge's order. And I'm just wondering what optically might be recommended by, I'm sure he's got a jury consulting team working with that team of lawyers. Casey, would you mind weighing in on that aspect? How would you want him to look if he's your client? Would you want him to look as rich as he is, or maybe tone it down a bit?
Yeah, Julie, this reminded me of this last trial that I did. It was a murder case, and my client had tattoos all on his neck, so he wore turtlenecks because you have to appeal to the jury. And in this case, P. Diddy is a multi-millionaire, right? But you have the jurors who are everyday working class citizens who are serving their civic duty. So do you want him to be dressed in top-notch designer clothing from head to toe? Or do you want him to appeal to the jury where your fate is basically in their hands? So style, dress is very important. And of course, as you stated, he doesn't have access to hair dye. So he has that older age seasoned look going on. So go along with that theme, and hopefully you will appeal to them that they won't be able to make that connection, that this bad boy lifestyle that you were once living is not the same person that's here today. Because again, these allegations are over 2 decades long. So if they can't make that connection, then maybe you'll have that one holdout juror, and that's who you're trying to appeal to.
Okay, see, a great point. The gray may be good. The gray hair may work for him. I love that. Franz, I want to ask you the same question to KC. If he was your client, optically, what would you recommend or hope that he would follow in terms of the clothing, maybe the jewelry, facial hair, all of that?
So I would go conservative suit, coat, tie. You know, the problem is he's really in a lose-lose situation. Everybody knows who Diddy is. So if he's dressed too nicely, then, you know, it's one optic. If he's dressed underdressed, like with the sweater, it's another optic. And remember where we are. We're not in a podunk county in the middle of nowhere in Timbuktu. We're in New York. So, you know, I would go conservative. I certainly wouldn't go flashy. I agree. I like the fact that he has gray. I was frankly surprised he didn't cut all the hair off. So, yeah, I think you got to try to make him as lovable as you can. But look, let's not mince words. He's accused of some really weird and horrendous stuff. And, you know, optics being what they are, I don't know that his appearance is going to make or break the decision for the jury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, I wonder if any of the jurors will be a little starstruck. Lisa G., I'm going to toss that last question to you, please, before we have to wrap up. Your thoughts on that? Do you think that at this point in time there may be anybody who might be just impressed with his fame? Oh, I think we lost Lisa's connection. Okay, that's all right. And you know what? We're just about out of time anyways. So let's leave it there for now. We can talk more in the coming days as we hope the jury selection will wrap today. They'll have a couple days to get everything ready, and opening statements in this one begin on May the 12th. Big thanks to Lisa G., Casey Early, and Franz Borghardt for weighing in. And still to come here on opening statements, returning to the case against Jordan Henning. Remember this guy? Killed his wife, Ashley. They're a military couple. Well, some really stunning things came out about him living a double life. At his sentencing, Ashley's cousin, John, brought it all out. John is back on the program, joining us live next. And Cult Mom is taking another chance at the podium. Yeah, she wants a brand new trial. We'll talk about it.
Do you go on dates with married men? Naturally?
Argumentative.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you. He was under the impression you were having an affair, so him moving on was a natural effect from that.
He told you that?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
She got mad and she would grab me right in the manhood. She had kicked me in the back down our concrete steps. I don't know what I was thinking.
This morning, we're shining our spotlight on the family of military mom and wife Ashley Henning, after her husband was sentenced for her shooting death. Now, we have some new details about what the husband was allegedly doing behind closed doors. The judge sentencing Jordan Henning to 20 years in prison. That is the maximum allowable punishment for his manslaughter conviction. Henning also had to listen to a very powerful impact statement delivered by Ashley's cousin, John Williams, who exposed Henning's double life.
They came forward and revealed what you did hide, your double life. The life you live is basic play. You've been keeping your BDSM, cross-dressing, having sex with other men, alternative lifestyle in secret, and in the shadows. And now it comes into the light. When Ashley finally said she had enough, and you made sure she wouldn't say another word to another soul.
We reached out to Jordan Henning's attorneys about the new allegations, but we have not heard back. I want to welcome back on the program Ashley Henning's cousin, John Williams, who is also a member of our military. He's a chief warrant officer. John, we thank you for your service and thank you for coming back on the show to talk about your beautiful cousin. May I start with...
Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. May I start with what it was like being in the room, being feet away from the guy who killed someone you love so much?
It took a lot of discipline to not physically go after him. But I know by doing something so reckless would only tarnish the name of the Williams family. So I did it for my grandmother, did it for Ashley, did it for Ashley's mother. So that's the only reason why I didn't do anything to him.
You've taken the high road and been such a great advocate for Ashley, and we know this is incredibly painful for you. It seemed that there was something perhaps very painful that you recognized happening during the process of the trial. When you were at the sentencing, you said that Jordan Henning sold the jury a lie. Tell us, please, John, what you mean by that.
Yes, ma'am. Shortly after the trial was over, there was an anonymous source that reached out to some friends of the family and informed us of several websites, X-Hamster, FetLife, some Snapchat, sent us screenshots of all the activity that Mr. Henning, the extracurricular activity he was having while married to Ashley.
We at Court TV did some research to try to confirm that after we heard your statements in court. That was quite a wow moment. And from what we can see, it appears that this is, in fact, Jordan Henning. And we know that was left out of the case testimony. I'm curious, John, does this in any way go to motive for why he killed Ashley, in your opinion?
Yes, ma'am. I believe so. I believe there was a certain point in the video where Ashley said she'd had enough. She was kind of sick of all of Jordan's stuff. I know during his testimony, Ashley called and she was upset. I believe it was because she found out about these extracurricular activities that Jordan was taking part in. And when she finally said she had enough, I believe that played a huge factor in why he did what he did.
Wow, I mean, that's all I could think about when I heard this, John. You know, because to be very clear, nobody here is shaming him for his lifestyle choices, different strokes for different folks. However, this guy's a married man who killed his wife in the house when their kids were present. I thought the prosecution proved murder, and I was a prosecutor, but I wasn't on the jury. I know you feel the same way, John, watching the case so closely. I know it really stung that this was manslaughter and not murder by the jury's decision. I wonder if the prosecutors knew about this. Do you have any information that they knew that he was living a double life?
Yes, ma'am. And this is what's so frustrating about this entire situation. This anonymous source revealed that they came forward to the Harlan County Sheriff's Department and tried to release this information shortly after the incident. That individual was turned away, and I believe the police said that this wasn't it wasn't relevant to the case. I believe the prosecution heavily relied on the video evidence. I believe that with everyone who's seen this video, can come to the same conclusion that it was murder. I just don't understand how the jury came to the conclusion. I don't understand why the prosecution, really the detectives didn't turn this information over to the prosecution, and why the prosecution didn't present this. They did a lot of work, the defense did a lot of work of trying to tarnish Ashley's reputation and make her out to be the bad guy, but they did. I don't believe the prosecution put somebody on the stand that spoke to Ashley's character to rebut all the things that Mr. Henning said.
Sure. You know, and if the prosecution knew about this and could have used it to prove murder and didn't, that just raises a lot of questions. especially when he got on the stand and said that he was being abused. And we know that was something very upsetting to you. And for anybody who didn't see your first interview with us, John, did you ever see one bit of evidence that showed that Ashley ever abused him?
No, ma'am. Ashley was a gentle giant, the most caring, the most loving, the most compassionate. She, as you can even see in the video, she was more willing to disengage and walk away multiple times, to disengage from any kind of argument, any kind of confrontation. That's Ashley. And for those kind of allegations to be lobbied rooted without any evidence, that it was very frustrating to sit and listen to.
Right. No, I'm sure. What a beautiful lady. I know a wonderful mother and a very successful member of our military, posthumously promoted to Master Sergeant. And one last question for you, please, John, before we let you go. We know that 20 years is the sentence, and apparently there's a law on the books in the state that provides for some type of domestic violence exemption that if his defense team is successful in substantiating this for him, he could possibly be released in 10 years. What do you think about that?
That's, when I heard that, that was a punch in the stomach. It was further disrespect. It was further anguish. I think about the kids. In 10 years, Carter will be graduating or enrolled in college. They'll be in their early 20s. And to live with that monster back out on the street, like, how is that right? I don't understand the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I don't understand the process. I don't understand how somebody can't get involved and right this wrong. It's extremely frustrating and disappointing to be let down like this.
No, it sure is. And it's really tough, when some things are out of our control, the laws on the books and all of that. But you and your family have done a tremendous job supporting those children and getting them through this and doing everything that is within your control. And you advocating for your cousin, I know, means the world to everybody. Chief Warrant Officer John Williams, thank you so much for coming back on the program. We are not going to forget about your beautiful cousin, Ashley Henning. Take good care.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Certainly. And coming up next.
Do you recall seeing any projectiles on the ground near the victim?
Objection, leading.
Rule. It's a yes or no question.
I believe I did, yes.
Lori, the lawyer, wants a do-over. She's claiming juror misconduct. That's next.
This week.
Did Karen Reed kill John O'Keefe? We're previewing each day's proceedings in the murder trial that has captivated the nation.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
You watched while your patient was lying there being tortured.
What else was I supposed to do?
So much for your career in caretaking.
Interview with a Killer season finale. Sunday at 8 on Court TV.
Now, for what's tipping the scales of justice, it appears that lawyer Lori Daybell isn't happy with the outcome of her recent trial, so she's asking for a do-over. You'll recall she represented herself, and now she's claiming a juror knew she had been convicted in Idaho of the 3 murders that she was convicted of, murdering her 2 children and her 5th husband's first wife. And she was convicted in that 4th homicide case in Arizona, too, convicted of the crime of conspiracy to commit the murder of Charles Vallow. This was a crime that she referred to as a family tragedy.
This is an attempt by the state to try to retrofit a crime that doesn't exist. This event was not a crime. It was a tragedy. Don't let them turn my family tragedy into a crime.
Prosecutors have not yet filed a response, so what are the chances that she can tip the scales and get herself a new trial. Let's bring back in attorneys Casey Early and Franz Borghardt. All right, what are Lori's chances here? Franz, will you start us off, please?
I think that this is an attempt for Lori to retrofit a new trial in what otherwise is a just and fair conviction, and I think her chances are about as much as her chances of going home one day. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to get denied, and yet again, another great reason why you have attorney and not representing yourself.
Exactly, my friend. So we've got 4 homicide convictions for her, and she's got another trial for attempted homicide coming up too. So there is that. Casey, your thoughts on whether she can be successful in a new trial for Charles's death?
Julie, her chances for success are slim to none. I mean, what is she going to claim? Just because you lose or you get a guilty verdict, rather, you cannot just say, you know what, I want an appeal based on this. It has to be substantial. Is she going to claim that these jurors knew about information? Well, Lori, you were your own attorney during the voir dire process. These are some of the questions that you could have asked. So because she chose to represent herself, she can't claim what ineffective assistance of counsel. She was pro se. Like, she has limited options. So again, I do believe that this is her chance to just have more screen time, to get out of her jail cell, because these are the questions that a skilled attorney knows to ask. She failed to do so. She chose to represent herself. Now she has to deal with the verdict.
Yes, Casey, I love what you keyed in on for us about how it all started at voir dire, where she would ask, hey, have you ever heard of me, seen anything, read anything about my case? If so, well, then follow up. What did you see? What did you hear? Oh, did you hear that I did 3 murders? Oh, I may not want you on my jury. Yeah, so let's work through this. So this is one of her reasons she's citing, that this juror apparently gave an interview after the fact, said he kind of felt sorry for her. I forget the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, wow, she's going to be doing 3 life sentences already, geez. But ultimately, the verdict was unanimous. Franz, what do you think about this? Was her mistake in voir dire not asking the right questions, as Casey brought up?
I think you're gonna see the judge look at the voir dire transcript and what was asked, what was not asked, and by her not properly vetting the jury, she can't. So what this would probably more be akin to is not jury misconduct, but possibly ineffective assistance of counsel. However, she was her own attorney, so she can't claim ineffective assistance of counsel. And so I think it is legitimately, now, it's different for the viewers. It's different if she asked the question and the potential juror is misleading or lies, and then we discover later that they were misleading or lies. Well, then that might be the fodder. That might be the just reason for a new trial. I don't think she has it here.
This is awesome. Awesome analysis, Franz. You're right. They got to go through the transcript, pick apart every little thing and figure out, well, what was the reason this got by apparently everybody, if what she's saying is true, you know, grain of salt. So you two are awesome. Thank you for that analysis. Here's what we'll do. We'll continue following Lori's case. In June, the attempted homicide's going to go, and I can't wait to have you both weigh in on that one. I know you have to get off to court. You two are busy attorneys. Casey Early, Franz Borghardt, thank you for your time and your expertise. That is all for opening statements, friends. But if you like the show, you're going to love Court TV Live. There's more to come.